各位观众、同志们，大家好，欢迎收看苏联谢尔盖同志主持的节目《雷锋茂秀》。
How cool was that? Well, this is thanks to my comrade Senui from China, who recorded this greeting, and it literally translates as greetings to all members of the audience and comrades. Welcome to Ushanka Show, hosted by Comrade Sergei of the Soviet Union. So today we return to the topic of the Soviet education, Soviet schools, and we're going to take a look at my diary, дневник, my school planner from my 8th grade, which I studied in 1985 to 1986. So this is my class, 8B class of the school number 254 in Kiev, Soviet Ukraine. And as I already said, we graduated 8th grade in May of 1986. Our finals happened in the end of May, so about a month after, on April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl power plant unit number 4 exploded. I covered the topic of Chernobyl power plant and my witness account while being in Kiev, just like 50 kilometers south from Chernobyl, in quite a few videos. So if you're new to my channel, you're welcome to check it out. I got like 3 or 4 videos about it. But today we're going to talk about education in the Soviet Union, and we're going to talk about 8th grade. As you see, we had a quite large class. I actually had to recount 39 children in my class, and we had 4 classes like that. So in that school was 8th grade had 4 classes, and I would assume that we also had 4 classes all the way to the 1st grade and up to the 10th grade. So we can calculate total amount of kids. But one class, single class, had like close to 40 children. So I quickly ran the calculator. So it seems like we had about 15 to 1600 children in a single school. But it's in a big city, but still that's a lot of children in a one single building. Now, 8th grade was an important milestone in every student's life, because the 8th grade is when you're done with, we call it in Russian, неполное среднее образование. So it's like not complete medium education. It's kind of weird to translate, but basically 9th and 10th grade, it's where the high school starts. So in 8th grade, teacher pretty much gonna talk to parents and remove all the knives out of the drawer that not sharp enough. Let's put it that way. So kids that not strong enough to keep on going, and they will be recommended to leave school right now and go to like trade school or just go straight to factory. I calculated again, and it seems like 24 kids. So out of 39 kids, 24 kids left the school after finishing the 8th grade. And sometimes some of these kids were actually smart and had really good grades, but they wanted to pursue different career. And other kids that were not good, they actually stayed and finished the 9th and the 10th grade. So it wasn't like a strict requirement, looking at the grades and tests to say, okay, your kid has to leave. Parents still had a choice. So we are looking at the cover of my day planner дневник from the 8th grade here. And it seems like that confusion looks like my mom was filling up because it's my mom's handwriting for the 7th grade, because it says 84-85, but inside it will say that it's the 8th grade. So I'm not sure what happened, but originally she was planning to use this дневник for the 7th grade. On the back cover, it's once again they're talking to young friends, what causes fires in the buildings or in the woods. And it says this price of this дневник was 14 kopecks. So we're talking 1985 to 1986. So also on the cover of this дневник, it says that it's good for the classes from the 3rd to 10th. So it's kind of universal type of document. And here we have rules. On the top, it's my name that I worked through that special pattern, plastic thing that I forgot how it's called. And it says the rules for the pupils from 1st to 3rd grade. And I think we already talked about it. I don't want to get into details, but it's carry with pride name of the Soviet student. Be proud of your school and your class. Pay attention in class. Do good job with the homework. Take care of the school goods and your goods. Be nice to nature. Wear school uniform. Pay attention to the schedule. Utilize your free time. Разумно, smartly utilize your free time. Read books. Participate in sports and stuff like that. So there's all 10 points of what to do for the children, for the students from 1st to 3rd grade. Next 2 pages we have rules for the students of from the 4th to 8th grade on the left and from the 9th to 10th grade on the right. And here it goes a little bit more to be patriot of your Soviet motherland and to be internationalist and to be преданный, I don't know how to translate, so like follow great Lenin, and then it goes again about to do, wear uniform, respect your and other people's time. So a lot of good points. So 12 rules for the 4th, 8th grade and 13 rules for the 9 and 10. And the last one, number 13, carry with pride the name of the Soviet citizen and student. So here, you becoming a Soviet citizen age of 16. So this is what they added, to be a proud Soviet citizen. Next page, we have the list of the subjects being taught in the 8th grade and teachers. And usually, like Russian language and Russian literature, there'll be same teacher. Ukrainian language, Ukrainian literature, same, different teacher, but also covering both topics. And quite often, same with algebra and geometry, there'll be same teacher covering this both subjects. In interesting detail, I think it was me, but you see this next to the names to the right, there's little check marks. And if I like somebody, check mark is pointing up. If I didn't like the teacher, check mark is pointing down. So it's like a V. And then if it's to the right, it's so-so. I didn't mind them either way. I don't remember doing that, but it's there. It's kind of funny. And once again, on the right side, the schedule of my lessons. I didn't write the part of which classes when, but I wrote what time. So the classes started at 8:30 in the morning, 45 minutes each class, a 10-minute break between classes. And if you had 6 classes in a day, your last lesson ends at 1400, which is 2 p.m. for those who can't handle military time. And just a friendly reminder that in Soviet schools we had to go to school 6 days a week. So we had to go to school on Saturday. And it's kind of funny detail. Those ink stamps, it's actually what it says, paid Velkaya Sam. So this is the little stamp that says that you paid your dues being a young Leninist Komsomol member. So I became a Komsomol member in the 8th grade, and somehow I got hold of that little stamp, so I just stamped everything on this grade. But before we start grinding into this long and boring video about my 8th grade subjects, I want to mention one somewhat cute detail. The 8th grade was the year when I madly fell in love with this girl named Ira, and it was horrible. My grades fell. But I wanted to go to school. Like, I hated the weekends because I was away from her. We were sitting at the same desk next to each other. So this is sad, but I waited for every Monday so I can go back to school and see her. We never actually dated, but I was madly in love with her. So now let's take a look what subject the Soviet students had to study in the 8th grade. First one is chemistry. Russian language, русский язык, and Russian literature, русская литература. I never had a problem with those, but for some reason I never could excel and get 5, which is excellent. I always had 4th all through the school. Ukrainian language and Ukrainian literature. Since we were in Ukraine, we studied also Ukrainian language literature, although our school, like most schools in Kiev, were Russian-speaking school. And quite a few people were asking what is the difference between Russian language and Ukrainian language. It's kind of similar, like difference between Portuguese and Spanish. They're pretty close, and you need a little practice to understand, but it's Slavic languages, so like every Ukrainian understands Russian, but not every Russian understands Ukrainian. Algebra and geometry. So same teacher taught us both subjects. We didn't have that mean teacher we had in the 7th grade, Sonia Yurievna. Oh, she was just mean. But still, I wasn't a big fan of math, but I always had a 4 or 5 decent grades. Next subject is history. I always loved history, always had excellent grades. But then later I found out a lot of stuff that we were learning was not truth. Geography, geografia. I think this hands down my favorite subject. Always loved it, always had excellent grade. And my favorite thing to do was on geography classes. It's when other kid will be by the world map and we asked him questions. I had always a couple of tricky questions, like I'll ask, hey, show us Mount Everest. Although on the map it would say Mount Jamalugma, and it will confuse a lot of kids, and that was my always like mean question to ask. Biology, biologia, it was okay. Of course, it depends a lot on the teacher. Our teacher was fine. Neither great, neither horrible. Physics, physica. I like the subject, but we had so much homework, and the task they gave us to do at home was quite complicated calculations. You know, there'll be something like object falling from such a height, and gotta figure out the gravity and the thickness of the air and stuff like that. So I struggle with those a little bit. So physics, physica. Technical drawing, or we call it черчение. Never had a problem with that. Always had excellent grades. My mom, that's what she did for living. She was making technical drawings for engineers. So she helped me a lot, and I always had a neat handwriting, so I had always good grades on черчение. Physical education, or as we call it, physical culture, физическая культура or физра. English language, английский язык. Official name was foreign language, and like my mother, she was learning German, but later most Soviet schools were switched to English because they needed translators. In case the war with America, there'll be a lot of American POWs, so we needed people, translators, to talk to them. Next one is labor education, as we call it, трудовое обучение, or just simply trud, labor. That's when the boys and girls split, and the guys learning how to work with tools, and girls learn how to cook and fix clothing. And the last subject was the basics of the social science, основы обществоведения. This is actually I had to learn, go to the Google Translate and translate обществоведение. I had no idea how to translate it, but apparently it's social science. Okay, so let's take a look at the very first week of our school year of 1985. And I actually asked Google, hey Google, what day of the week was September 2nd, 1985? And Google confirmed it was Monday. So that was a good year. So usually school starts on September 1st, but since September 1st was Sunday, we started school on 2nd. As you can see, there is no mercy. Every day we had 6 classes. 8th grade, it's kind of like it's not kindergarten anymore, right? So like Monday we had math, biology, physical education, physics, Ukrainian literature, and Russian literature. Once again, physical education, the 3rd lesson, which I always hated because you get sweaty during exercise in the gym, then you have to change again. We had no showers in our school, and then you go sit in class again, so that was pretty bad. On Tuesday, we had Ukrainian language, already had a homework, chemistry, the history of Soviet Union, math, and 2 final lessons were labor education. On Wednesday, we had Ukrainian language, biology, new history. So we had actually several histories going on in 8th grade. History of the USSR, and then new history. I need to look it up with that. I don't remember now. Then physics again, Russian language, and Russian literature. So first week of the school, and I'm already getting some decent grades. As you see on this scan, I got 4, which is good for Ukrainian language on Thursday. Then I got 4 for history, 4 for social science, 5 for geometry, and then on Saturday, and once again, we have to go to school on Saturdays. I got 3 5, so that's excellent grade. It's A. Russian literature, algebra, and geometry. So I really kicked butt on Saturday. And quickly, let's go through the classes. So on Thursday, September 5th, and usually the schedule remained the same all through the year. Algebra, physical education, once again in the middle of the classes. Chemistry, English language, Ukrainian language, and once again Prava, which is social science. On Friday, we started the day with history, then social science again, geometry, chemistry, geography, and biology. 6 classes, pretty heavy day. And Saturday, looks like we had only 5 classes: geography, Ukrainian language, Russian literature, and as a cherry on the top, algebra and geometry. So it's bad enough in school on Saturday. Last 2 classes, you got double whammy, algebra and geometry. Okay, so here we're jumping into October. On October 22nd, Tuesday, I had a bad comment about my attitude during the Russian language class. And it's, you see in the red ink as supposed to, it says that I behaved improperly in a class was dedicated to the history of the Communist Party. That's pretty interesting. So I was showing some improper behavior in a class dedicated to the history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. So that's interesting. I don't remember all this, but there's a note. Can erase it from my diary. And interesting also, I always loved geography, but geography of the 8th grade was more about industries of the Soviet Union than actual geography. So like on that day, we studied машиностроение, so it's like industrial construction, like what factories were located and where and what we were building in Soviet Union. Really boring topic. And now we're in November. So I had 2 comments again. So besides the good grades, you see I had a 5, which is excellent on English. And then I had physics, I had Russian literature, and then a comment on Wednesday for Ukrainian language that I did not participate in the lesson. I believe the whole class left. We had some issue with the teacher, and for some reason we were so mad that we just didn't show up for her class for Ukrainian language on Wednesday, and then again we didn't show up for Ukrainian literature, so it's the same teacher next day on Thursday. Not sure what was going on, but I think that was the whole class, because there's no way I would just skip the class on my own. I was too nerdy for that. Another interesting comment from December the 12th, so the 12th day of the 12th month. For algebra, I got 2, which is bad, like failure, but it's not a grade. It says поведение. So I was behaving improperly during that class. I'm not sure why. As I mentioned earlier, I had this horrible crush on Ira, and she was next to me in class. Maybe we were giggling or something. I'm not sure what was going on, but it's not about how I studied. It's actually about my attitude during that class. I had pretty much it's D for that. And also a cute little detail, if you notice, my pages become numbered again. So I was trying to rip the pages out of my diary again, just like a diary, дневник, and this notebook. Now we're in February, and I notice that on that page in February 6th, which was Thursday, I put a little stamp. For some reason I glue it up there, and it's actually like if you are a friend of the nature, so we had this юный naturalist, like a young naturalist, and you can pay dues, which was 5 kopecks, into the fund to protect nature. So I don't know what I got that stamp, but I glue right into it. And I had decent grades end of the week, a bunch of 4s and a bunch of 5s. So I did pretty good that week. On February 10, I got the lowest grade possible in a Soviet school, 1, or as this teacher of physics said, kol. Kol is pretty much like a steak, wooden steak, because it's shaped like it, right? So he always will tell you, I'm giving you a kol, даю вам кол, или ставлю вам кол. So like, I drive the stake through your heart. He was a Jewish guy, our physics teacher, and he was really mean. I mean, he was fair but mean. So he always would call maybe one or two pupils in the beginning of a class and had some questions related to previous physics class. And if you had no idea, then he'll give you 1. If you can answer a little bit, then you might get a better grade. But 1 is ultimate failure. 2 was failure, so 1 was even worse. Like, it was the only teacher who ever used 1 as a grade. Now we're jumping all the way into April, and look at this. Saturday, April 26, 1986. The world is on fire. There are already people dying from radioactive poisoning in Chernobyl power plant. And we just sit in class because we have algebra, physics, geography, Russian literature, physical education, and foreign language to study. And there's already radioactive cloud is moving towards Kiev, which is only 50 kilometers south from Chernobyl power plant. But we end up staying in school all the way to end of May because we had to pass our finals. And I could get out from Kiev only by like early June. And I already described my story in the video Train to Leningrad. This is the end of the book. And here I tracked my grades through every quarter. We have so-called tabel scorecard. I cannot locate right now. I have it somewhere, I believe. This is the subjects that I studied that year, and then my grades through every quarter. And then we had final tests in the end. And then you have final grade. So what I did in Ukrainian language, which is the very first line, I had 5 only once, but then I scored 5 on my test, and I got 5 as the final. So you don't have to study hard all through the year. You just need to hit it hard one quarter and make sure you do good on the test, and then you get excellent grade in the end. Same, kind of similar with Ukrainian literature. I had 50-50, 2 4s, 2 5s, scored excellent on a test, and I got my final grade. Couldn't pull it on algebra. Had that opportunity, but as you see, I scored only 4. And here the last page of my dnevnik, my school notebook, and I got instructions how to maintain your dnevnik. So it basically tells you that every day you need to write down your homework, and then the teacher need to put the grade in his class book and then transfer to my dnevnik as well and sign it. Every week, teacher is supposed to check pupils' dnevniks and make sure they're all up to standard. All the comments need to be written down. In the end of every week, parents should check their dnevnik and sign it. And all the notes in dnevnik should be written correctly, without mistakes, and neatly. So this concludes my story about my school year of 1985-1986 when I finished the 8th grade. We start school usually at 7 and had 10 years. So after 8th grade, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this video, kids will split. Some will leave and go to trade schools or go work. And the smarter ones will remain going to, we'll call it high school. Never called it high school, but there'll be 9th and 10th grade. So about 50% of kids would leave, and we had our 4 classes got combined in 2 classes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on Amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life and social